Hey there, I hope you're doing well today. So, let's talk about something that's incredibly relevant for many of you, especially if you're an educator. A classroom expense deduction that might not only help ease some of the financial burden you face, but also ensure you're getting the credit you deserve for the dedication you put into your work. Now, did you know that as a teacher, counselor, or even a principal, you could qualify to deduct up to $300 for classroom expenses on your taxes? And if you're filing jointly with your spouse and they're also an educator, that amount doubles to $600. This is a pretty significant benefit that not everyone fully takes advantage of, so it's definitely worth understanding how it works. Throughout this discussion, I'm going to break down what qualifies as a deductible expense, who exactly is eligible for this deduction, and some tips on how to make sure you're fully prepared to claim it when tax season rolls around. And trust me, it's simpler than it might seem at first glance, so don't worry, we'll go through it step by step. So, let's get into the details. First off, you might be wondering who exactly qualifies for this deduction. Well, if you're a teacher, instructor, counselor, principal, or an aide working at least 900 hours a school year in an elementary or secondary school, you're in luck. Whether you're at a public or private institution, as long as you meet those criteria, you're eligible. This means that the majority of educators out there can benefit from this deduction, which is a great way to offset the cost of supplies and materials you buy for your classroom. Speaking of which, what can you actually deduct? This is the part that's really important to get right. The IRS allows you to deduct a variety of expenses, including books, supplies, equipment like computers or software, and even COVID-19 protective items like masks and disinfectants. If you've taken a professional development course that's relevant to your teaching, you can also deduct that. However, there are a few things that don't qualify, like homeschooling expenses or non-athletic supplies for health or physical education. So, it's essential to keep that in mind when you're gathering your receipts. And yes, receipts, let's talk about record keeping for a moment. To make sure you're fully prepared to claim this deduction, it's really important to keep detailed records of your purchases. This means holding onto receipts, canceled checks, or any other documentation that proves you spent your own money on classroom supplies. I know it might seem like a hassle, but having everything organized will make tax time so much smoother, and you'll feel confident that you're getting the full benefit you're entitled to. Another thing to consider is how to actually claim this deduction. If you usually take the standard deduction on your taxes, don't worry, you can still claim the educator expense deduction. It's a pretty straightforward process. And if you're filing jointly and both you and your spouse are educators, remember that you can claim up to $600, but no more than $300 per person. Now, for those of you who might be filing a bit late or have an extension, the good news is that the rules for claiming this deduction stay the same. But the IRS does recommend filing electronically, as it's generally a quicker and smoother process. Plus, if you're expecting a refund, choosing direct deposit is the fastest way to get your money. So then, to wrap things up, I hope this has clarified how the educator classroom expense deduction works and why it's something you should definitely consider if you're eligible. It's a small but meaningful way to recognize the extra effort you put into your student success, and it's a simple step you can take to ensure you're not missing out on any financial benefits. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to share it with your fellow educators. We're all in this together, and making sure everyone gets the credit they deserve is something we should all support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.